What's up, guys? Subziark here. If you missed it, the final day of Heartsteel Cup was yesterday, and it was quite a banger. Replay won the entire tournament. Of course, the world champion, the only world champion from North America, our GOAT, who is definitely someone who, he won Worlds, and ever since then, he's been trying to sort of chase that high. Everyone, of course, knows that he's an insanely good player because you have to be an insanely good player to win Worlds, and he won it in a very dominant fashion. But, he's not... It's hard to replicate that level of performance, especially in a game like TFT. So, there have been some fraud allegations against him, saying like, oh, yeah, he won Worlds, but like, how good is he now? But he absolutely proved that he is still one of the best in North America with this crazy performance in Heartsteel Cup in the final day. He dropped 45 points, I believe. It was a pretty clear first. Like going into this, not into this game, but going into the final game, he only needed a third to actually win the entire tournament, which was pretty sick. So want to watch some games from Replay, see what he's been doing to have such success in this tourney, which is obviously incredibly stacked, as any tournament is going to be in this final day. This is a pretty stacked lobby as well. We get people like Philip, Noster, who was second or third, I think second overall was Noster, Dish Soap, of course, Invective, Neonify, all sort of like common names in the high elo scene. Obviously names like Dish Soap are, way up there as well. But yeah, we have a pretty standard, I would say, opener. We get the Vi Chosen, which is a very strong Chosen to play around right now. And we have this 2 Heartsteel. Interesting, Replay decides to level here. I think he's confident with the Sunfire Slam that he can actually cook up maybe some kind of a win streak, or just, save a bit of HP. With the fact that we have Vi Chosen and Sunfire Slam, he thinks, I would imagine in this spot, that he can actually pick up, a win or two. Which is so important in this version of TFT now that like streaks don't matter. All that matters is actually just winning fights, because streak gold is so low, and just winning a fight is gonna give you 1 gold, and 1 gold is equal to 1 gold. We end up picking up Heartsteel here. Kind of interesting that we level and then find the 1-cost Heartsteel, but it is going to be an early Heartsteel that does give you the opportunity to do this sort of like raise the stakes kind of stuff if you want to, though because he has this Vi with Sunfire, it's going to be a little bit hard. He does have the option, because Heartsteel is not his headliner, to say like sell the Vi and play for raise the stakes, so could be an idea depending on how strong the lobby looks. So we'll see that down the road. Stage 2 Heartsteel is fine. But I think the really important thing, as I've talked about before with Heartsteel, is just the HP saving. We're going to fight a Seraphine with an IE red buff, headliner Seraphine with IE red buff, so there's no way we're going to win that fight, and be on a little bit of an awkward win-loss-win streak. But yeah, the other sort of awkward thing is that we have Rod open, which, I mean, it can be Crown Guard. It's just a little bit annoying to have to kill that. It can also be Gunblade. A lot of other people, and looks like it looks like we're going to go for the Gunblade here. A lot of people are very high on this Gunblade item now, especially on an item as an item onto Zed. I think some people have said, they prefer Gunblade to any of the other healing options on someone like Zed, like a Hodge or a BT. So could certainly see Gunblade being the pickup here, and if it makes a difference in this fight, could just be slammed here. It's a perfectly fine build out of this Rod here. And yeah, we're fighting someone pretty strong, so I fully expect to see the Gunblade made onto the Vi here, and he goes for it. So yeah, I mean, Vi, fantastic item holder for this Gunblade. She's going to do a lot of damage early. Obviously, like, the Sunfire damage doesn't affect the Gunblade, but still 1,200 damage. A little bit of that was Sunfire damage, but, 1,200 damage to Gunblade for the team is very good. We're going to pick up an Urgot here, who, as we've talked about before, is just an incredible unit. The only scary thing about this position is we don't get to make 20 gold, because we're holding on to this Urgot, and because our board is a little bit expensive, right? Gold value of our board here is like, what, 12 gold? So like a 12 gold board, this is a little bit pricey here, and with the fact that we early leveled, it means we're not going to be able to make 20 gold here, which is a little bit scary. The upside is that the Heartsteel is going to give us a little bit of that econ back, probably. So yeah, he doesn't even actually scout in this position here to see if he wants to go for the raise the stakes. I think he just thinks his board is too strong here, and it's not really, in his mind, worth it to raise the stakes in a spot like this when he has no access to like 5 Heartsteel. Maybe if he knew that he would have access to 5 Heartsteel, he would go for it, but because we don't have Heartsteel chosen, it's pretty hard. You just get strapped a full blue buff here, which I have to imagine is the slam, and then this extra sword, which can be something like IE, Edge of Night, those types of things. So yeah, I mean, a perfectly fine AD flex spot. It definitely seems AD flexy, though. I mean, interestingly, we have the Gunblade Slam, we have this blue buff slam. You could also, if he like Giga High Rolls for it, play like an Ari spot. Did he had Ari in one of his shops earlier, right? Or am I crazy? but it was just too expensive for him to hold on to. But like this blue buff Gunblade setup can play perfectly fine into like an Ari board as well if you were to high roll an Ari like down the line at a moment when we could actually pick it up. Maybe we get good augments for it or something like that. He wins the fight, so he's gonna make this Tom Kench too. He knows he can. Inspiring Epitaph, a very strong augment. Idealism, another really good option. Both really, really good. Curious to see what he takes here. I'd probably lean Inspiring, but yeah, looks like he's gonna go for the Idealism. He also has Know Your Enemy, which is another fantastic augment. So 3 really solid options, and he really, really values this Idealism, which is interesting. My thought is that it wouldn't be that high prio in my mind because we already have this Gunblade made. We don't really need a healing item that badly. But I think maybe he just thinks Idealism is really strong. Maybe the stats bear out and say that it's like really, really broken in this comp. I'm not sure. I tend to think of Idealism as more of like an Akali Karthus type augment because you can, actually put them onto the Akali, onto the Viego, onto the Karthus even. Whereas this comp, I don't really love the Hodge onto someone like Ezreal, so you don't get that much value out of it. But we'll see down the line. There is maybe the idea that because we're playing Heartsteel, we might get a component, and that can allow us to build into Hodge. So interesting pickup there for Marie play, I would say. And yeah, we also have the Vamprison for healing. So we're going to have a lot of healing onto our eventual, like, Zed, or, I mean, maybe onto our Ezreal. Maybe you can, like, Hodge the Ezreal. I don't think you really want to Gunblade the Ezreal. We're going to rotate into a Kale board here. This is Noster's Twin Terror Kale board with 2 duplicators. His spot looks crazy. I think Noster played a lot of Reroll on the day, which, I talked about Reroll being very, very good. I mean, I'm just saying. We just have Sword open here. So looks like we're gonna go, I mean, I feel like Edge of Night is the sort of like standard item that you could build from the sword out of the stuff that we saw in Carousel here. I don't think you have to build it immediately. The sword could still be an IE, could still be like a GS, both fantastic options. You don't really want Deathblade when you're playing around stuff like Big Shot because you're already getting so much AD. But if you end up going like Deathblade onto the Zed, that's pretty solid. But yeah, I think the chain here is just more flexible. Can be the Edge of Night, can be a lot of stuff, but he doesn't really want to slam it here because there's no one to really slam it on. We're going to fight a Zed board, but I mean, our Urgot is doing so much damage. They even have like random Aphelios too with good items. Like I was going to say they're in a solid 80 flex spot, but they're a little bit broke, honestly. Get the cash out here, 6 gold, which is nice. This is going to allow us to be able to do that fast 8. Without this cash out, it'd actually be pretty scary to actually get that fast 8 going. But now that we have this extra 6 gold, this is going to make it a lot easier for us to get to 8 and roll ahead of everyone else because it looks like there's a decent amount of 80 flex. A lot of Zeds out of the pool already. We just fought a Zed. This guy's got a Zed. Like, there's so many Zeds out that it's going to be pretty hard for us to pick up a Zed here. But, hopefully we can find it. Interesting that he's not really interested in holding Yone pair. He really just wants to hold Katarina plus the Vi. I think this is something that, I don't know if it holds true for Yone, but it's possible that Replay doesn't really care about making Yone 2. He really cares about finding the 4-cost upgrades. I think it was him that was talking about how he really doesn't value finding like MF2 in positions like these because it's just so expensive, right? Like if you buy an MF2, that's a ton of gold that you're using. That's 6 gold on the extra MFs that you buy that you could be using to find like a really strong headliner or just like 4-cost 2 stars that are actually influential on your board. And maybe he thinks the same for Yone, where he thinks like Yone 1 is fine. That we don't really need a Yone 2 in this type of position, that like Yone 2 is not really going to do anything. It's just going to be a waste of gold. He picks up the Urgot Headliner, which is pretty smart, just to item hold it for like a round. We are going to 4-2 it here, I'd have to imagine. Yeah, we're pumping the gold, so we're definitely going to 4-2 it, but he just holds this for 1 round just to improve his HP a little bit. None of these augments are great, so we have to end up taking Lucky Gloves here, which is not bad. Rapid Fire Caitlyn doesn't really work with our items, and it's the worst version of Caitlyn. You definitely prefer the 8-bit version. We do pick up an Alawi here, but these rolls are looking kind of scuffed. We still don't have like a takeable headliner whatsoever. We can get some of these units in. Yeah, we can get to more default version of the board, but I mean, yeah, Twisted Fate headliner. Yeah, we really just haven't seen a very strong headliner that we can take here, nor even like a 2-star set or anything like that, or I mean a 2-star anything by that metric. He does end up making the GS here, actually, which makes his items kind of interesting because now he kind of has to make defensive items out of some of these. Maybe holds the glove for IE and then makes a gargoyle. We'll end up seeing. But he wanted to make the TG onto Alawi, and so ends up in this position. Rolls once it finds an Executioner or a Kali, which is an interesting pickup. It's definitely, I would say, weaker than the Zed, but definitely not. I mean, you kind of have to take it when you're this far. She can absolutely hold on to these items. It's definitely a bit like non-traditional, I would say. Like a lot of people, I mean, you really want the Zed in positions like this. You want to find the Zed headliner, you want to find the Ez headliner. But I mean, when you're in the spot, you kind of have to take good enough, and replay is going to take good enough here. He's taken some losses. The nice thing is we were pretty healthy going into 4-2, so he is picking up some wins. But yeah, even he puts the Echo and the Senna into Team Builder, he's going to like pivot into more of like a true damage version of the comp just to guarantee that this Akali actually gets value. Curious what we end up going for here, because you could go for even something like a random Last Whisper. He's just going to go for the Rod here, maybe for the Crown Guard. I think he probably wants to get to Evanshroud, so he's just going to make Crown Guard and then get to Evanshroud. Kiana is a fantastic pickup, talking about true damage units to get in here. So yeah, now he can fit the Kiana in, can even get the Zed in here, still has 3 Heartsteel in. Did he just cash out? He cashed out a blue buff, and he just cashed out a full blue buff. Oh, I think it was just a full blue buff, which can go into Kiana, which is fine. He does end up actually... Oh, yeah, he also must have got a bow there because he didn't have the bow before and ends up making Last Whisper, like I was talking about. A fine shred item onto the Ezreal. And yeah, I mean, at least he gets some extra items to play around with here. Ends up getting out of the 5 Heartsteel so that he can actually play kind of a strong board because this spot is a little bit scary. Picks up the random Cassante too, which, I mean... He's just kind of on our board here, just to be on our board at this position. Now he's looking for something else to add in, which would be like the Bard, or I don't know, or like the Poppy. But he ended up actually selling Poppy, which is interesting. He prefers to actually have this Cassante 2 on his board than like a Poppy 1 that could eventually become a Poppy 2. But yeah, I mean, it's AD flex, but it's an interesting line actually playing around this Akali, just because I think it is more of this sort of like suboptimal version of this comp. You definitely prefer to put your carry items onto Zed, but you know, definitely not bad whatsoever. Finally picks up the Echo here, but it's kind of awkward to fit on the board. You would have to end up cutting Crowd Diver and the Zed unit, and Zed is so fantastic that I feel like you don't want to cut him, but we'll see. Definitely looking for a last Ezreal item here. This could just be IE plus a Gargoyles, which would be really, really nice. Does not get the IE. He could go Hodge here with the Hodge augment here. Hodge Gargoyles is what I'm looking at here. Outside of that, there's like, what, Renans plus Steadfast here. I have to imagine it's just Hodge Gargoyles, yeah. I guess you could Hodge the Kiana instead of Ezreal. I would probably want to do it on the Ezreal. I mean, you could even put it on Zed, I guess. And yeah, he's going to make it onto the Kiana here. He says that he's just going to greed for better items on the Ezreal. The healing is obviously much more important on the Kiana. It's a faster cast on the Kiana. The scary thing is that we're just stuck on a 2-item Ezreal here, though. I mean, he really didn't do that much more damage than the Kiana, so I guess it's okay at the end of the day. And he is just going to get this Yone in over the Cassante. It's 3 Crowd Diver, but the main idea is just that you're going to get a Crowd Diver proc off of this Yone dying. He's going to actually CC the backliner, whereas this Cassante, I mean, what is he really going to do? Just like cast and not really do anything. If he ever finds like a Zac, he could get that in for EDM over this this Zed. Well, but then you're losing you're losing the EDM to get EDM in, so that doesn't really work. But I don't know, is there another synergy you can get in over the Zed? Because I feel like the Zed's, I mean, it would just be the Bard, right, over the Zed in this position, and you would just play that because like you don't have Zed 2, you don't care that much. Holy, wait, he cashes out a TG here? I mean, that's absolutely the best cash out he could possibly ask for here because of his lucky gloves. So yeah, you cannot complain about that whatsoever. And he's coasting to a top 4. The question is, how high of a placement can we play for? Really interesting, actually, I think, was his decision to say that he's actually stable in this position and that he can push 9. Because like, I think these are, I've talked about it before, but I think these are like the really, really hard spots when you play Heartsteel, when you play this AD flex type line. Like, can you go 9? Like, do you have to roll? Because my thought process was with the Ezreal pair, I really, really would have wanted to roll for Ezreal too here, but he just makes the call. He says, I want to just push levels. He's going to get IE for Ezreal off the carousel here. And yeah, he just wants to push potentially 9, though. I wonder if he was also waiting for other Ezreal players to die and like maybe he's going to think about rolling now. Yeah, I think that was also the idea, is that there were likely a lot of Ezreals out of the pool. He wanted to wait for some Ezreal players to die. That's Kiana pair. There's the Yone 2, and there's the Bard finally is what he was looking for to pick up that extra synergy onto his board. Jazz so big. He's going to end up having to TG this Yone, which is a little bit rough, but I mean, it's fine. It won't be the end of the world. And really, really smart they end up rolling here because this is quite a close fight. Oh my god, he even loses. But I mean, really, really smart to roll in that spot, because if he did not, he would have taken a horrible loss there, and he would be like, it would be very, very much playing for 4th here. He's going to roll down, pick up an Alawi 2 on 8, which is not bad. So maybe we can play for that cap. But yeah, I really like how he graded his rolls here until after carousel, waiting for the other players to die, who I assume were playing around Ezreal. Now he gets to actually find the Ezreal 2. He can even find Alawi 2, which is amazing. And now maybe he can think about going 9. The only problem is he is pretty low in this spot, so a stiff breeze could end up taking him out here, but he can play for his maximum placement. And smart to just actually play around this this Akali the entire game. It's a pretty interesting, like replacement for the Zed. It's definitely like it's basically like the standard board, except we're playing around Akali instead of Zed, which means we really want to play around the Kiana. But yeah, it's certainly a cool line. Gonna pop this tome, probably looking for Kiana item. I think he's really scared of dying here, so he's just gonna roll down, try to pick up Kiana too, try to play for like a third if possible. Hey, that's Bard too, not the worst. He's gonna Hodge here so that he's gonna end up moving one of these, the LW, I guess, over to MF actually. I was thinking just onto Kiana for a third Kiana item, but I think he thinks MF can actually apply it a lot better. So yeah, he's just gonna move it over to the MF here so that he can get a third item onto Ezreal that's actually better, like this Hodge, and he can actually have Hodge on 3 units, which is pretty great. His cash out here is a Radiant Archangels. Radiant item is really, really rough in this spot because he has no open item slots. The only person he has open items on is Kiana. Rolls Archangels into Static Shiv. Okay. And is going to actually get this Zed in here with the TG onto it. This looks pretty rough. He is fighting the Kale player, so I think this might be a loss, and I think this is the end of the line for replay. It is a third, but this is a pretty cool third where, he didn't have the most insane roll down of all time. Like I think I do a lot of these VOD reviews. I guess I can play the rest of the video while I yap a little bit. But I do a lot of these VOD reviews where it's a first just because the player hits something really, really insane on the roll down. Oh, he just pieced out of the lobby. They just hit the Heartsteel Ezreal in 2 rolls, but it took him a long time. He didn't find the Zed, he didn't find the Ezreal, he didn't find the Poppy, but he rolled down far enough, found the Akali, stabilized around that, and then, added those 5 quests into the board. The Kiana, eventually the Alawi. He did a lot of rolling on 8, so I ended up finding Alawi too, and it ends up being a pretty solid third. So, pretty cool game. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, comment, subscribe, check out my Twitch, and all my other links down below. Thanks for watching.